Good morning. Um, so, the mystery inside history, Andrew Gosden. I want to first start off by telling you about a dream I had. At first, I dreamt someone broke into my house and tried to stab me to death. They were very angry. They were very focused on trying to shut me up. I don't know if that's just because of stuff I've been posting and someone out there is really angry with me or what, but I kicked the shit out of them. I absolutely beat the crap out of them. I fought back so hard that it made them scared, and then I had them on the floor cowering while I did to them what they did to me. So then the dream changed, and I was watching these military people on a giant screen talking about an alien invasion and that we needed to prepare, and they were looking for volunteers to fly these special planes and man these special weapons. And I was watching them not pick my sons, thank God. Um, and then the aliens turned up with all their technology, and it was surreal. It was like watching something out of Halo. It was like watching something out of Gears of War and Halo and that. And they were using all the secret weapons and that to get ready to fight the aliens. And then somebody from the cockpit of one of these special planes that they were getting ready to line up to face the aliens shouted to me, it's time you told them what happened to Andrew. And I woke up and I immediately knew what had happened to him. Well, I mean, obviously, I have to put a caveat in there. Um, take this with a grain of salt, but as someone whose father was in the military for over 34 years, as someone who knows how all of this works, this is going to be a very short video. I've put links in the description box below. And his family are from Yorkshire. He went missing from Doncaster in South Yorkshire in 2007, and everyone has all these ideas of what they think happened to him, but nobody's looking at the obvious. I've purposefully avoided looking into his case because, as a mum, I can't begin to imagine what his parents are going through. I miss my boys 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I pine for them. I have been pining for them since the second they were born. Every time I'm not in the same room as them, every time I have to go to sleep, waking up is the best part of my day because I get to wake up to them. Which is why when my ex targeted me as a mother, that was his biggest hit. The weapon of choice was to target me as a mother because he knew that that was the one thing that I got up for every day. The one thing that was like the best part of my day was waking up in the morning to my children. And he took that from me. And I've been fighting for my children ever since. He caused a war, which is to do with this dream. And I'm only now just starting to build those bridges with my boys again. And I'm so desperately trying to get us out of here. But anyway, I know that heartache, but at least I knew that my children were only on the other side of town. Whereas Andrew's parents have had nearly 20 years of not knowing what happened to him. So I've been trying to avoid it because I didn't want to see that he was no longer alive or that something bad had happened. But I always felt like, from what little I understood of the story, that he left on purpose. And then just something made me watch these two videos last night before I went to sleep, which is why I would have had the dreams. And now I'm pretty sure I know what happened to him, so this is going to be a short video. And if his family ever get to hear this, I don't know, I honestly don't know how you're going to feel at my um, opinion on what I think happened. But now that I've had that dream, I'm kind of wondering whether my thought was right. And then, of course, having the dream was like, yep, say it. So I think he's still alive. And I think that he was recruited either by the military or the Secret Service. If anything happens to me, you know I was right. If anything happens to my phone, you know I was right. I think that one of the things that they talked about in this video is that him and his sister had exceptionally high IQs, that he was very, very smart, that he had a perfect attendance record at school, that he was quiet and a loner, but you know he had friends and all of that. But he is exactly what they're looking for their super soldier programs. I know about the super soldier programs because in my blog days, you know, my work with all the veterans, I was told about they look for guys, they look for soldiers who have a unique set of skills, so to speak, where they have apparently Andrew was incredibly good at maths, and they look for certain traits that they want to use for super soldier programs, and you know, to work, that they can train to use their special, quote unquote, and parenthesis, special weapons. And you know, if you know anything about, you know, I was talking about Metal Gear Solid a few weeks ago about the children, you know, hooking the kids up to the machines and that to work everything. It's kind of like that, but without the brain in the jar. They recruit them through two things: their school, through school records. They look to see, yeah, he is exactly everything they would want in a soldier, everything. And video games. They watch kids playing. They watch people playing video games online, which is why my boys were in the dream killing aliens. And they recruit you that way. And I think that those special walks that he went on, those two walks he went on, it was, and him going on the train by himself, it was a test to see whether he had what it took to be able to remove himself from his family, because he was a homebody. He was a home orientated kid. And I think that's why he didn't take anything with him, because he was told, we have everything you need right here. And you will be playing real life video games where you'll be flying, like using real life software to fly real life weapons and fly real life planes, and, you know, whatever they said to him. And I think that the reason why he wasn't seen after leaving the train station is because that was done on purpose. So they wouldn't see who was there picking him up on the other side. I think that they purposefully waited a couple of weeks. The cops, I think they purposefully waited. I think they purposefully messed up the video surveillance in the most watched city in Great Britain, so that they wouldn't pick up on where he was going, on who was picking him up, and what direction he was going. So I think he's still alive, but I think that after nearly 20 years, he's well and truly, he'll be well and truly recruited into the super soldier program. Elon Musk, for example, is trying to build robot and Neuralink super soldiers. I write about it in the Quantum Menace. I write about it in my TV series, my robot TV series. You know, where the main character builds the $6 million men and then uses them to go after the mutant legion. So I wrote about it in the Quantum Menace because it is a real thing. And like I said, I know that from what I had been told about Vietnam is I don't know if the program started before Vietnam or during Vietnam or because of Vietnam. I just know that I was told that a lot of the killed in action, missing in action men of Nam never actually died. You know, the ones where they never found their bodies, because people don't just go missing. People don't just vanish into thin air. And I was told on my blog days that some of the MIAs and killed in actions and missing in actions were done on purpose, that they were still very much alive, but they were turned over to the super soldier program because they look for people with certain skills, especially supernatural ones. And remember the whole Jeffrey Epstein video and the Adelina Bond thing, you know, and why they were angry at me and came after me. The super soldier program is a real program, and they are looking for scientists and kids and people that they can recruit to help them build their armies, and put brain chips in them, you know, Metal Gear Solid style, Neuralink, and then they can control. They use the humans basically like remote control robots, remote control soldiers, and then they look for scientists who can help them either design their anti-gravity, um, antimatter stuff, or people like me with special skills that can be used to help the military. And like I said in those videos before, I was asked twice to join the Illuminati, and I told them to get stuffed. And that's the sort of thing that the Illuminati love, especially when you consider that the Illuminati is made up of presidents and people in the military, and you know, Bohemian Grove is full of like people in the military and people who make money, you know, making military equipment. And it's Elon Musk's wet dream, and it was Jeffrey Epstein's as well, to create super soldiers. That's why, you know, a lot of his victims and that said they saw him shapeshifting into aliens, because it's all, you know, they get in your head. They want to see how easy you are to manipulate through the mind, because then if you can be easily manipulated, then it's easier to create their weapons and their AI robots and that, when they put brain chips in humans. So a lot of people that have gone missing, especially young men, and this not Andrew, but I'm saying like Chris Tompkins, for example, and all the African American guys that went missing in Georgia and all of that, they could have been used as experiments for the Neuralink, and then they usually like remote control robots, and I've posted evidence before of remote control robot Elon, where he's put his robot out in full view of the world that is completely remote controlled, either by hand or by using the Neuralink in his brain. To test it out to see if people can tell who are robots and who aren't. And my robot TV show that's like $6 million man, that's what that's all about. Because basically the story of the quantum menace is you've got Gideon and Ben, and they were brothers, and Gideon was raised by his mother, and Ben was raised by his father. His father was in the military. His mother was like a rich socialite hippie, basically. And Gideon goes off and becomes like Bruce Wayne without the Batman. And Ben goes off to become a scientist for the military and is working on training super soldiers. And then Ben realizes that he's more powerful than anything the military should be allowed to have access to. So he starts using his powers to become an anti hero like Deadpool and Batman. And so, he's helping the citizens fight crime. It's centered around like Brooklyn and New York and that when I wrote it. And the military start cottoning on that it's possibly him who is the quantum menace. And they feel kind of betrayed and angry that it's like, you never told us you were this powerful. He never told us he was this powerful. He never told us he could do this, and now he's recruiting others. So then Gideon comes along and says, well, I've been working on robots, and they're not only are they cheaper than training human soldiers and that, but they're faster and they're smarter and they're $6 million man sort of thing. And I'll use them. If you give me the military contract, I'll use them to hunt the Quantum Menace and the Mutant Legion down. And that's what my TV show's about. Because it happens in real life. It's happening in real life. My father was in the army for over 34 years. And, one of the things he said to me was, don't ever believe what they tell you about Area 51. It had nothing to do with aliens and everything to do with their super soldier and drone, weapons and all of that. They used aliens as the cover up because they didn't want people to see what they were really doing there. The same with the Antarctic, what they're doing in the Antarctic. So, the Bermuda Triangle. They just want people to keep away from these areas by thinking that there's aliens and alien technology because they don't want you to know what they're really working on. Because the thing is with Andrew, he was 14 years old. His parents were never going to consent to that sort of thing, and he knew it. But he wanted to be a part of it. He did it of his own free will because you get to play special video games that blow up the bad guys, and you get to help be a part of something really special and so top secret. But we need to know that you're up to it, and if you can get on the train and come down to us and not be scared, and you're brave, which is why he went on those 2 big solo walks by himself, then you're exactly what we need. Welcome aboard, son. Which means he'll be so far gone now, his parents wouldn't get him back even if they found him. Now, this is just me throwing my 2 cents in. I might be wrong. The thing is, what's the better, what's the alternative? Is that he got taken by someone and, got hurt, or worse, like died on the streets. But I think he knew that. I think they, will give you time to decide what you want to do. So that's why he was going on those walks, because he told his parents that he had to think, he had some thinking to do. He needed peace and quiet, he needed to think. And I think that it was like him mulling over, am I going to do it or am I not? Because if I walk away from my family, I'll be walking away from good for good. Because once you go into the program, you never go back. And what I was told was that a lot of these soldiers in Nam came from nothing anyway. So they thought, yeah, sure, why not? I get to help my country. I'm kept away from the war. And they do recruit children, especially children that love to play video games that are really good at maths. So the mystery inside history at atomicmail.io email is in the description box. If his parents, who are from South Yorkshire, hear this and they have any questions or anything like that, feel free to email. I don't know what else more I can tell you, but I can certainly help you deal with the emotional, psychological um, side of what you're going to be going through if you ever hear this. And if anything happens to me, it wasn't suicide. If anything happens to me, um, you know who did it and you know why. But I think that the start of that dream was just that there's people out there who are pissed off at what I'm doing and I'm talking too much. They don't like the fact that I'm talking, which is the stabbing. But I kicked their ass, absolutely mopped the floor with them. And then that's when the dream jumped to the aliens and the alien invasion, and because obviously if you're dealing with the military and super soldiers. I remember in the dream looking up at the big screen and Bill Cosby came running out onto the stage because he was volunteering to fight the aliens. Like he was volunteering to be a part of it. He wanted to be a part of it. But he's just symbolic of the whole Epstein connection. So now I've said it, you kind of can't unsee it. It explains a lot. It explains his behaviour. It explains why all of a sudden the cameras weren't working in London, or if they weren't recording too much. Just they waited to the cops waited too long, and we've covered over it and blah blah blah. No, it's done by design because they didn't want to see who he was meeting on the other side of the train. So, I mean, on the one hand, I think he's very much still alive. On the other hand, he's not going to be the same person. He will be so far into that program now, he probably barely even remembers his parents because they do wipe your mind. because they need you to be detached, which is why he would have gone out for those walks to learn to detach and to have a think about whether he was going to sign up to the program or not. And they recruit you through the school and through online gaming platforms and that. So, yeah, so I'm just putting it out there. Okay, so I'll speak to you later. Ka kite.